Part 82. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 811. Chasing Luoluo will definitely lead to death. Luoluo did not expect that Jizhong would take action so happily, but she would not blame Jizhong. After all, he was seeking death. Why are you so anxious? Leave it to me to practice my skills. Luoluo's voice was soft and pleasant, but it sounded like a magic sound to the ears of the other 5 people. Is this woman really only a saint-level practitioner? Dirty Jizhong spit out one word. Luoluo immediately understood what he meant. Because of the man's thoughts towards her, he despised the man's dirty looks and didn't want to have any contact with him, not even in a fight. The 5 people on the opposite side were awakened by the arrogance of the two. Although they were frightened by Jizhong's strength, they thought that if the 5 of them joined forces, they would not be his opponent alone. People with a holy level of cultivation in Luoluo were completely ignored by them. In their eyes, those with a holy level of cultivation were not worthy of being allowed to take action. Those who dare to kill us will take their lives. The 5 people showed their weapons at the same time and surrounded the 2 of them, mainly targeting Jizhong. They wanted to fight quickly. Revenge for their companions is just a pretense. What they want is their gift rings. 4 of the 5 people were going to Jizhong, and 1 of them was going to Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan said to Jizhong, "Don't worry about me, I can handle it." Although the opponent's cultivation level is higher than hers, he has not broken through to the level, which is suitable for Xuanhuan's battle experience at this time. With a slender hand raised, the Changling spear appeared in Xuanhuan's hand. She rushed forward without fear and fought with the opponent. At this time, Jizhong was also facing off against 4. In an instant, the sound of the impact of weapons' spiritual power rang out in the quiet night sky. Perhaps because of the night, the sound seemed to be amplified, and it was particularly clear. Yun Tuan lay firmly on Xuanhuan's shoulder, staring at him with his dark eyes. The other party also saw a palm-sized spiritual beast on Xuanhuan's shoulder. Looks like a spiritual pet, but if the spiritual pet cannot stay outside when fighting, it will be put into the spiritual pet space. This one could only lie firmly on Xuanhuan's shoulder during such a fierce battle between the 2 of them. Even if he didn't feel the breath of the war beast, he knew that this palm-sized white dumpling was definitely not an ordinary spiritual pet. But a war beast, but this was the first time he saw such a small war beast. What surprised him the most was that even though his cultivation level was much higher than that of the stunning woman in the red dress in front of him, she could actually tie with him. Obviously the opponent can fight beyond the level. It's not like he has never encountered someone who can fight beyond the level. They are only 2 or 3 levels at most. However, there is a difference of 8 or 9 levels between him and her. What kind of evil genius is she? Can jump through almost a large level of battle. At this point the man knew that they had underestimated these 2 people. Women can fight beyond a large level, while men can fight 1 against 4. It is obvious that the ability to fight beyond a level is even more terrifying than that of women. You must know that among the 4 people, 2 of them are higher in cultivation than him. The man felt as if he had been kicked on an iron plate. Seeing that he couldn't win against the woman, and then seeing the man fighting 1 against 4, although he didn't win, he didn't lose either. A bad premonition came over him. Shouted decisively, "Let's retreat quickly." Jizhong's eyes froze when he heard the man's shout, and he said coldly, "It's too late to leave now." The 5 of them were shocked. Although they couldn't defeat Jizhong also won. Without them, it's not impossible to leave. Why is it too late? Xuanhuan became more and more courageous as she fought. Even though she fought at a higher level, it could only be a draw. Both of them were a little embarrassed. However, the long caltrop spear in her hand was cold and the sharp breath would be destroyed wherever it touched. In the blink of an eye, most of the plants around them had been destroyed. Withdraw! The man with the highest level of cultivation who was fighting against Zhizhong shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhizhong's long sword came to him. He hurriedly used his spiritual power to form a protective wall in front of him, hoping to resist Zhizhong's murderous sword. But Zhizhong's long sword was as powerful as breaking a bamboo, splitting his protective wall, and the long sword sank into his heart. He quickly drew out the long sword and ran towards another strong man. The man who was stabbed by him first fell from the air with disbelief in his eyes. He never thought that he would die in the hands of a person with a lower cultivation level than him. Until he took his last breath, he also didn't understand why Zhizhong's sword was so powerful. He knew very well that he used all his spiritual power to form this protective wall. He thought that as long as he could avoid the sword, he would take out his escape weapon and leave immediately, but he never expected that Zhizhong would not give him a chance to escape. At the same time as the man landed, Zhizhong used the same technique to kill another person with a higher cultivation level than him. The remaining two people looked at him with frightened eyes, as if they were looking at a devil. How is it possible? How can his fighting power be so strong? Zhizhong did not kill them directly as they imagined. Instead, he stopped and said to Xianxia, "Leave these two to Luo to practice." Zhizhong could see that the person Xianxia was fighting was on par with her. As long as she could kill her opponent, even if her cultivation level remained unchanged, her combat effectiveness would increase. The cultivation level of these two people is higher than that person, which is suitable for her to continue fighting. The two of them had indescribable feelings after hearing Zhizhong's words. They didn't know whether they should be grateful for their escape from death or sad for their subsequent fate. His eyes were rolling, wondering if they would have a chance to escape since Zhizhong didn't do anything to them. Xianxia responded, "Okay." Since Zhizhong said this, he could guarantee that these two people could not escape. The Changling spear in Xianxia's hand became sharper and sharper. The other party finally realized that Zhizhong did not take them seriously at all. At this time, they are like animals trapped in a cage, left to play. Since you are facing a dead end, you must always struggle, just in case you are lucky enough to escape. The man's mind was spinning rapidly, thinking about how to find a way out. Zhizhong stood in the air indifferently, watching Xianxia fight with the man, suppressing the other two people with coercion, not letting them move, and ready to rescue Xianxia at any time. The man fighting with Xianxia flashed a fierce look in his eyes. It seemed that he was trying his best to kill himself with Xianxia. He secretly took out a teleportation pattern and quietly released a ray of spiritual power. The teleportation mysterious pattern was activated. After successfully activating the teleportation pattern, surprise burst out in the man's eyes. The other party was indeed arrogant, giving him a chance to escape. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 812. Haunted with pride, he laughed heartily, "You are nothing more than that." As soon as he finished speaking, the teleportation mysterious pattern was activated, and the man's figure suddenly disappeared from in front of Xianxia, causing her attack to fail. Just as Xianxia was feeling annoyed, she noticed that the man's figure appeared again and fell from mid-air. The man shouted in horror, "How is it possible? How is it possible? How could two in a row show his disbelief?" He had successfully activated the teleportation pattern, so how could it be interrupted? For the first time, he knew that the teleportation of the mysterious pattern could be interrupted. Just now he felt as if he had hit something, which knocked him down hard. Immediately afterwards, the teleportation pattern lost its effect. When the teleportation failed, he fell from the air. Xianxia was also surprised. She was a little curious about how Zhizhong did it. It's not like a barrier. After all, the two of them were fighting. Although Zhizhong killed the two strongest men and stopped the fighting, she didn't see any movement from him. Besides, can the barrier be set up so quietly? No matter what Zhizhong did, the man was stopped anyway. Yan Xiongluo immediately rushed over with the Changling spear, and directly caught the man's falling body with the Changling spear. It sounds long, but it only happened in an instant. Between men wear it on Changling Jiang, just like wearing candied haws. Yan Xiongluo shook her hand, and the spiritual power was transferred from her hand to the long caltrip spear, shaking the man's body out. At the same time, she also used spiritual power to clean the blood on the long caltrip spear. The man's body hit the ground, twitched and died, but his eyes did not close. He really couldn't rest in peace. Now 4 of the 6 people are dead, Yan Xiongluo said to the remaining 2, which one of you will come first? The 2 of them trembled and glanced at the 4 corpses on the ground. What Yan Xiongluo said was equivalent to asking them, which of you will die first? Look at both of us, neither of us wants to be the first to die. No, no one wants to die. However, they did not escape even when their companions used teleportation patterns, which made them understand that this place must have been something done by this terrifyingly powerful man. They were pretty sure it wasn't a barrier. Although they didn't know what it was, one thing they knew very well was that it was impossible to escape. The 2 looked at each other, plopped down, and knelt down neatly. 2 adults, please spare us. All our things will be given to you. Please spare our lives. While speaking, he quickly took off his storage ring, and took the initiative to erase the divine consciousness on it, making the storage ring ownerless, and then placed it on the ground in front of them. Ruan Xiongluo was speechless. For a person of this cultivation level, he is so humble just to survive without even losing his dignity. What is the point of living like this? This is a knot that they will not be able to overcome in their future cultivation. It is not easy to improve further. It's possible. Yan Xiongluo didn't know what she would choose if she reached this point, but no matter how much she cherished her life, she would definitely not choose to live without dignity. In an instant, she lost interest in fighting and practicing with them, and said to Zhizhong, "You decide." Then she fell to the ground and glanced at the 2 kneeling people with disgust. The 2 of them didn't care whether they were disliked or not. Nothing was more important than living at this time. They had been working together to rob each other since they came in, and they were successful every time. They never thought that the robbery would fail, or even risk their lives. Although the 6 of them are from the same continent, they did not know each other before coming in. They just met on the way to experience and had similar odors, so they joined forces to the treasure. Do you still expect such a person to die for dignity? Zhizhong glanced at Yan Xiongluo, who was arranging her dress and hair that was messed up due to the battle, and knew that this girl disliked these 2 people for being too spineless. Zhizhong glanced at the 2 of them and said, "Go away. These 2 people are not from their Jueyuan continent. He is not willing to kill such groveling and spineless people." When the 2 of them heard the 2 words Zhizhong spat out coldly, they felt as if they were hearing the sound of nature. They kowtowed excitedly, "Thank you, sir, for sparing your life. Thank you, sir, for sparing your life." After kowtowing several times in succession, the 2 quickly stood up and fled for their lives in the air. As expected, there was no invisible obstacle blocking them anymore, and in the blink of an eye the 2 of them escaped out of sight. Even so, neither of them dared to stay, even after leaving the spiritual medicine valley. The 2 of them had only one idea, to escape as far away as possible. In the remaining time for training, they would never encounter those 2 people again. They never expected that the 2 men, whose strength was so different from theirs, could be so scary in combat. Let the 6 of them lose 4, including the 2 with the highest cultivation level. Yan Xiongluo did not change her clothes, but simply tidied them up. Anyway, she still had to practice next. The most important thing was that although her clothes were a little messy, they were not dirty. His hair was combed again. Hong looked at the 4 corpses on the ground, took her hand and left. This place is dirty, let's move to another place. Yan Xiangluo didn't object. Although she didn't have as severe a germophobia as Hong, she didn't like such places either. The two of them walked for a long time in the night. The Elixir Valley was very quiet at night. Because of the special quietness, the two of them would immediately sense any smell. The two stopped and looked ahead. Yan Xiangluo said, "There seem to be many spiritual beasts coming this way." Her consciousness was powerful, and although the aura in front of them was still far away from them, she still sensed it. Hong naturally sensed the group of spirit beasts in front of him. Let's find a place to check the situation first. They came into the spiritual medicine valley during the day. At first they just collected the spiritual medicine and didn't encounter any spiritual beasts. Apart from the red snake that was about to break through to the dragon transformation realm that I saw in that valley, I really didn't encounter any other spiritual beasts. Now at night, I actually encounter a group of spiritual beasts. Either there are none, or there is a group. No matter how you think about it, it feels weird. Hong looked around with his spiritual consciousness, pulled Yan Xiangluo and jumped up to the nearest Isa mountain, which was more than 10 meters above the ground, hiding his body and looking down. Yuan Xiangluo was held in his arms, and the two of them tried their best to control their aura. After about a quarter of an hour, a spiritual beast finally appeared in the direction they had been looking at. As soon as the spirit beast appeared, Yan Xiangluo and Hong immediately looked at each other. As expected, it was a group of spiritual beasts as they expected. Many spiritual beasts came out of the woods between the cone-like peaks. They came in different directions, but they had the same purpose. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 813. There are many kinds of spirit beasts, and their auras are all very strong. At least they are powerful spirit beasts that they have never seen before. The strangest thing is that there are so many spiritual beasts of all kinds. They used to be natural enemies of each other, but now they are traveling together in harmony. Yes, the appearance of such a large group of spiritual beasts gave the two of them the feeling that they were on their way. It seems that there is a common destination, and the attraction of this destination has surpassed the existence of their natural enemies, so they can live together peacefully without attacking each other. Moreover, the number of spirit beasts in the group far exceeded what they had sensed before. The spirit beasts that passed in front could no longer be seen, and there was a steady stream of spirit beasts following behind. There should be more and more spiritual beasts joining in, so the group of spiritual beasts is getting bigger and bigger. Although Yan Xiangluo was very confused and wanted to discuss with Hong what was going on, she was worried that even using sound transmission would alarm the spirit beasts below. Therefore, she endured it. It took half an hour for the spirit beasts to finally pass by. Only then did Yan Xiangluo ask, "Where are they going? How can so many spiritual beasts get along so harmoniously?" Hong said, "There are so many spirit beasts and they are so powerful. To make such an abnormal move, something big must have happened. And there are only two situations that can make so many powerful spirit beasts do this." A gleam of light flashed through Yan Xiangluo's apricot eyes. Either there are spiritual beasts that are more powerful than them controlling them, or there is some treasure that will be released that will greatly help the spiritual beasts improve their cultivation. Jijudian nodded, yes. That's exactly what he thought. Hong said to Yun Tuan after saying that, "Yun Tuan, do you know what the situation is?" Yun Tuan obviously knew the situation here very well, but there were some things he couldn't explain. He just asked casually, and Yun Tuan would naturally answer it if he could. Yun Tuan said, "I didn't sense the aura of a stronger spiritual beast, but the direction they went to should be the forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley. Is there a forbidden area in the spiritual medicine valley? Yanxiangluo asked in surprise. Yun Tuan nodded. If it hadn't happened, it wouldn't have been able to say it. The forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley has existed since the formation of the first training land. There are only a few places in the entire first training land that have existed since the formation of the first training land, and the spiritual medicine valley is one of them. These few places, every place without exception, has a forbidden area. Since the existence of the first training place, I have never heard of anyone being able to enter the forbidden area. However, the local spiritual beasts in the training place can enter, and there will be many in the forbidden area every time. Something big happened. Yanxiangluo and Jizhong looked at each other. The meaning of communication in their eyes was obvious. Do you want to go and take a look? Yun Tuan made it very clear that from the formation of the first training place to the present, no monk who came from outside to practice has ever been able to enter the forbidden area. But since they have already encountered it, it seems a pity not to experience it. After all, it takes 3 years to get in once, and the opportunity to encounter movement in the forbidden area is rare. Want to go? Jizhong asked softly, looking at Yanxiangluo's burning eyes. Yanxiangluo nodded immediately. Let's just follow the spirit beast and have a look. It's enough to get a feel for it. We don't want to go in and take risks. Her idea is very simple. With so many powerful and diverse spiritual beasts entering the forbidden area, not to mention that the monks can't enter. Even if they can enter, wouldn't the two of them die if they go in? Therefore, she really just wanted to see how magical the forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley really was. Seeing that she really wanted to take a look, Jizhong didn't hesitate at all. Then follow me and have a look in the first training place. It is very dangerous at night, and a large part of the danger comes from the strength of the first training place. Powerful spiritual beasts. Now these powerful spiritual beasts are rushing to the same place. I believe that the spiritual medicine valley will be safe tonight. As for Luoluo's cultivation, she doesn't enter the realm anyway, and it doesn't delay her ability to absorb spiritual energy. It's just not as crazy as what she absorbs when entering the realm. Jizhong and Yanxiangluo followed the spirit beasts at a distance, not daring to follow too close, and could only sense their direction with their spiritual senses. Along the way, spiritual beasts kept coming from all directions to join the team, and the group of spiritual beasts became larger and larger. What they don't know is that the spirit beasts outside the spiritual medicine valley are also rushing to the spiritual medicine valley, but they don't walk, but come as fast as possible, relying on their strength. But one thing is the same, that is, once entering the spiritual medicine valley, all spirit beasts will walk. It seems like this is a rule that goes without saying. Yanxiangluo looked in the direction and said speechlessly, "Isn't that the valley we left?" Jizhong naturally saw it too, but the spirit beast group did not pass outside the valley, but continued to walk to the right in the direction of 3 miles away from the valley. Even though there was a distance of 3 miles, those who were guarding outside the valley still sensed the aura of the spirit beasts. At this time, there is no room in the valley, and people are crowded together. Even so, there are still many people outside who cannot get in. The first people to sense the herd of spirit beasts were the people who couldn't get in and stayed outside the valley. Many of them had come in and practiced many times. There were many people who knew a lot about the training place. Therefore, someone immediately shouted, "There is something going on in the forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley." The abnormal reaction of the spirit beast group can only occur in this situation, so countless strong men jumped into the air and chased in the direction of the spirit beast group. Abandon the valley without hesitation. Yanxiangluo and Jizhong saw a large group of people suddenly appearing behind the spirit beasts, and asked Jizhong, "Aren't they afraid of those spirit beasts?" Jizhong had not yet answered Yun Tuan's words. Spiritual beasts at this time will not attack people. Isn't the forbidden area inaccessible to monks? Why are so many of them here? Xianxia felt that she was just curious and wanted to see it. Could it be that all these people wanted to see it? Isn't this a waste of cultivation time? When the movement in the forbidden area ends, there will be spiritual energy feedback. The spiritual energy absorbed during the cultivation of these spiritual energy is different, but a mortal can change his own physique and talent by absorbing a little bit. The strength of the body itself will increase, and the talent will also be enhanced. The absorbed energy the greater the change, Xuanhuan explained. The biggest weakness of monks is their weak body. Once they lose their spiritual power, they are not as good as ordinary people. This is also the reason. But if you want to have a strong physique, you can only cultivate vitality. But how can a monk cultivate spiritual energy and then cultivate vitality? He doesn't have enough energy. After all, she is the only one like Xianxia. Xianxia rolled her eyes at Xuanhuan and said, "You can say it again." The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 814. Xuanhuan immediately rubbed Xianxia's cheek with his furry head. "Master, even if I am a divine beast, I am restricted by the rules of heaven. A lot of information here can only be told to the master when it happens." Xianxia had no intention of complaining about Xuanhuan. After all, none of them could go against the law of heaven, and the divine beasts were no exception. At this time, Xianxia was a little curious about what the way of heaven was. Or does it have an entity? In this case, we have to go there. Although she felt that her and Xuanhuan's talents were already excellent, who would despise that her own talents were better? Besides, isn't it said that the physical strength can also be improved? She has cultivated vitality, so there is no need to worry about physical strength, but Xuanhuan has not cultivated vitality. Since they knew that the spirit beasts at this time would not attack people no matter how powerful they were, the two of them stopped hiding and directly rose into the air to follow the crowd in front. At this time, all the monks who came over ignored each other. After all, such opportunities were too rare. If they could meet, it could be described as smoke rising from their ancestral graves. No one who is not stupid would do it at this time. Make trouble for each other. Now we have to let go of all the big grudges. Nothing is more important than improving physical strength and talent. Everyone understands that the most important thing is to first absorb the aura fed back from the forbidden area to improve their talents and physical strength. As long as they can absorb the aura feedback from the forbidden area after this month of training, it will be a worthwhile trip even if they leave immediately. After flying in the air for a while and catching up with the spirit beast, they all landed on the ground and followed slowly. The reason is very simple. The spirit beasts in front of them don't walk very fast. What makes them puzzled is that those flying spirit beasts can also walk. And it seems like there is some pattern in walking. Judging from the reactions of these powerful spiritual beasts, Xianxia felt that they were rushing to their destination with a kind of piety. This kind of piety meant that they could obviously go faster, but they used the slowest step-by-step way to go. As soon as this feeling emerged, Xianxia felt something flashing through her mind. She thought about it carefully, but couldn't catch anything. She shook her head and understood that it might be related to the memory of her previous life, but because she had not recovered her memory, it just felt familiar. She will not dwell on problems that cannot be solved. Then, a strange scene appeared in the spiritual medicine valley. A large group of powerful spiritual beasts were walking slowly in front, followed by a group of human monks who were not weak in strength. The huge special team walked slowly towards the same destination. Along the way, other spiritual beasts continued to join the group of spiritual beasts, and the team of human monks also continued to expand. However, no matter how the team expanded, Xianxia and Xuanhuan were always at the back of the team. Xianxia didn't know how big the spiritual medicine valley was. Before, She and Xuanhuan traveled in the air for so long without flying out of the spiritual medicine valley. Now the spirit beasts have traveled for so long and still haven't reached the spiritual medicine valley. The forbidden area shows how big the elixir valley actually is. Xianxia absorbed spiritual energy as she walked. Sometimes she would pick the elixir when she sensed its scent, and then chase the team. The procession continued until the sky became slightly brighter, and the team finally stopped. Because Xianxia and Xuanhuan were at the back of the team, they couldn't see where they were in front. Looking around, there are still cone-like peaks and woods, and nothing has changed. I originally wanted to fly up in the air and look ahead, but I saw that no one was moving. They stood quietly, and no one even spoke. Xianxia did not jump into the air impulsively. Instead, she pulled Xuanhuan and climbed up a tree next to her. She didn't see the scene in front of her until she climbed to the top of the tree. All the spiritual beasts were prostrate on the ground, as if they were worshipping something devoutly. Xianxia looked at the spiritual beast in front of it. It was the tallest and largest mountain that he had ever seen in the spiritual medicine valley. If other peaks are like cones, this peak is more like a pillar. The top of the mountain is not getting thinner, but is about the same thickness as the bottom of the mountain, towering into the sky. Is that mountain peak a forbidden area? Xianxia asked in a low voice. Xuanhuan's eyes narrowed slightly. The entrance to the forbidden area should be on that mountain peak. Since it is a forbidden area, people will not be able to enter easily, so there is only one possibility, which is to have controllable entrances and exits. Hearing this, Xianxia looked at the mountain peak carefully. At this time, she did not dare to use her spiritual consciousness to investigate, fearing that her spiritual consciousness would affect the opening of the forbidden area. So many people and beasts are waiting so devoutly, she is not stupid and will not touch their bottom line. After a while, Xuanhuan said, "The door to the forbidden area is about to open." Xianxia kept staring at the mountain peak. As Xuanhuan finished speaking, she also felt the changes in the mountain peak. About 10 meters high on the mountain peak, a circle of light spread out faintly. As the circle of light became brighter and brighter, an arched light door appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The light was so dazzling that you could only see the shape of the door, not what was inside. Immediately, the crawling spirit beasts jumped up into the arched door one by one in their own way. When the spirit beasts jumped into the circle of light, their figures would disappear immediately. All the spirit beasts enter one by one in order without fighting. When all the spirit beasts present enter, the light circle dims, but there is still the shape of an arched door. In this case, even if there are more spirit beasts, even if you come here, you probably won't be able to get in. After all the spirit beasts entered the forbidden area, the crowd began to walk forward, reaching the spot where the spirit beasts were prostrate on the ground, and then sat down cross-legged one by one to wait. Xianxia turned to look at Xuanhuan. "Why is there no movement inside?" Xuanhuan pulled Xianxia down from the tree and walked towards the people sitting cross-legged. "We should be able to sense something when we go over there." Sure enough, when the two of them walked to the crowd sitting cross-legged, there was a clear tremor under their feet, and they could clearly feel that the vibration was coming from the ground. Xuanhuan took Xianxia and sat down behind the crowd. After sitting down, the feeling became clearer, as if the dantian was connected to the ground. No wonder these people are sitting cross-legged, obviously they have known for a long time that they should be like this. After Xianxia sat down, she also felt that her dantian was connected to the ground. At the same time, she felt that the vibration was more obvious, but at the same time she felt that there was a force in the ground trying to enter her body. Xianxia instinctively rejected the power and immediately used her spiritual power to resist, not wanting that power to enter her body. During the contest, she clearly felt that the power underground was getting stronger and stronger. She decisively wanted to stand up and leave, but found that there was a force preventing her from standing up. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 815. Although there was power to prevent her from standing up, she swung her spiritual power down her without thinking, cutting off the connection with the ground, thus cutting off the power that prevented her from standing up, and successfully stood up. Stand up. Yan Xianluo stood up and retreated quickly, not forgetting to pull Jizhong up. Jizhong was sensing the cause of the ground tremor when he was suddenly pulled away by Yan Xianluo, almost dragging him with his hands. Jizhong quickly stabilized his body and retreated simultaneously with her. Luoluo, what's wrong? Yan Xianluo didn't stop until she retreated to the point where she couldn't feel the force. As soon as I sat down, I felt a force entering my body. The more I stopped, the stronger the force became. I wanted to stand up and, the strength prevented me from standing up, but I cut it off forcefully. Didn't you feel it? Jizhong shook his head. No, I only felt the ground shaking. Jizhong looked forward after listening to Yan Xianluo's words. The arched door with a faint aperture was still there. So many people were sitting on the ground waiting so obediently. It must be the same as him. He could only feel the ground shaking, but why do you have the strength to enter Luoluo's body? I instinctively reject that force. The force that I instinctively reject is at least not kind to me, Yan Xianluo said. She is a heavenly master. Although she cannot see her own destiny, her instinctive sense of good and bad and the pros and cons is still very strong. Since her body instinctively rejects it, it means that this power is not good. Jizhong said decisively, we will leave the spiritual medicine valley immediately. Although he found Xuanhuan, one of the four divine beasts, in the spiritual medicine valley, it did not mean that the entire spiritual medicine valley was a chance for them. The spiritual medicine valley is not a place for experience. If something happens, it will be real. Luoluo's cultivation level is only at the saint level. Although she needs a lot of spiritual energy, she doesn't need to calculate her spiritual energy. As for the so-called spiritual energy feedback that can improve physical strength and talent, they are not looking forward to it at all. Yu Xianluo nodded. The spiritual medicine valley was indeed not suitable to stay any longer. The two of them rose up in the air and headed in the opposite direction of the forbidden area. They didn't know the way out of the spiritual medicine valley. Just like when they entered, there was no fixed entrance. Therefore, it goes without saying that the two of them came up with a solution, which was to fly in one direction and they would eventually get out. It was already bright at this time. The two of them walked through the cone-shaped peaks. After flying in the air all morning, they could still see the endless three cone-shaped peaks in front of them. The two finally discovered the problem and stopped at the same time, suspended in mid-air. Do you feel like we can't fly out of this mountain peak? Yan Xianluo asked. Jizhong said, indeed, the peaks we flew over are almost exactly the same. Although the peaks were all shaped when we came in before, there are still differences between the peaks, and some differences are very obvious. Now here look at the mountains, are they all the same? A flash of doubt flashed through Yan Xianluo's apricot eyes. Is it an illusory formation? I didn't feel the breath of the formation. Jizhong shook his head and said with certainty, it's not a magic formation. He pulled Yan Xianluo and flew straight up. Let's see if we can reach the top of the mountain. Yan Xianluo understood what he meant. Since all the mountain peaks were exactly the same, if he wanted to find a breakthrough point, he could only go to the top of the mountain and take a look. But every mountain peak reaches straight into the sky. Can they reach the top of the mountain? The two of them have been flying for a long time and are still far away from the sky. It can be said that the sky is still far away from the ground. They have been flying for so long, and they have not closed any distance at all. Xuanhuan, do you know what's going on? Yan Xianluo asked Xuanhuan lying on her shoulder. But Xuanhuan did not respond to her. She turned around and found that Xuanhuan had his eyes closed as if he was asleep. Yan Xiongluo picked up Yuntuan and shook it, but Yuntuan didn't react at all. Ji Zhong also saw something strange about Yuntuan, so he was no longer worried. Said to Yan Xiongluo, "Send the clouds into space." Yan Xiongluo also knew that it was not safe for Yuntuan to stay outside in this state, so she decisively sent Yuntuan into Pangu space. The two of them also stopped flying upward, suspended in their position and looked down. Below were the continuous mountain peaks and endless woods. This was the first time the two of them encountered this situation and knew that they were indeed trapped. At this time, Yan Xiongluo didn't have to worry about whether using the power of his spiritual consciousness would disturb the forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley. If he couldn't leave here, this experience would be over. Yan Xiongluo also wanted to test how far her spiritual consciousness could see. In an instant, her consciousness was released with maximum power without any reservation. The speed was very fast. In front of Yan Xiongluo's eyes, with the two of them as the center, her consciousness was like the flying lotus petal device she attacked with the strongest spiritual power. Spread out. In an instant, countless mountain peaks and woods passed before her eyes. A long time passed, but the scene passing before her eyes was still exactly the same. A flash of cold light flashed through Yan Xiongluo's apricot eyes, and while her spiritual consciousness spread to the surroundings, it also spread upwards. The power of spiritual consciousness spreading upward changed, and soon it rushed into the clouds that the two of them could not reach before. Only then did she realize that there was actually another world above the clouds, and there was actually a large and gorgeous palace. And the countless peaks in the spiritual medicine valley are just pillars supporting the palace. Yan Xiongluo narrowed her eyes. This palace gave her a very familiar feeling. Now there was no other way. Now that she discovered that there was a palace above the sky, she continued to control her consciousness to look at the palace without hesitation. In an instant, his spiritual consciousness was above the palace, and the entire palace was under Yan Xiongluo's sight. This palace is antique, and it looks like a building from a long time ago. There is a kind of nobility in the luxury, which is the kind of nobility that makes people feel that it is blaspheming the palace at a glance. Although Yan Xiongluo was wondering why there was such a palace above the spiritual medicine valley, she now understood why the spiritual medicine valley had such a strong aura. All the spiritual energy in the elixir valley pours down from this palace, and only a small part of it. The intensity of the spiritual energy in the palace is 100 times greater than the intensity of the spiritual energy in the elixir valley below. There are no very tall trees in the palace, but there are many ornamental dwarf trees and a wide variety of flowers. Every landscape is exquisite, and any palace can be seen to have been carefully designed. Yan Xiongluo's consciousness circled around the palace, but she didn't sense anyone or any spiritual beast inside. At this time, not only did the palace feel familiar to her, but the aura inside seemed also familiar. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 816. And there is no sense of rejection towards the power of the spiritual medicine valley forbidden area. Instead, there is a feeling of closeness, as if these auras once belonged to her. A flash of light suddenly flashed across Yan Xiongluo's mind. Could it be her own power in the previous life? After all, the master and senior brothers have completely disappeared, and they can still leave traces of their spiritual consciousness everywhere waiting for her arrival. It is not impossible that her power is kept in one place waiting for her to take it back. Thinking of this, Yan Xiongluo immediately sat cross-legged in the void and closed her eyes. Ji Zhong on the side saw her actions and immediately understood what she had discovered. And she must be sitting cross-legged because she wants to practice, so it means that she has discovered a power that she cannot refuse. He also let go of his spiritual consciousness, but not to investigate anything, but to guard the surroundings and protect her. All of this was shrouded in Yan Xiangluo's consciousness, and she naturally knew everything Xuanhuan did. At this time, her spiritual body was also sitting cross-legged above the palace. The position where she sat was exactly above the center of the palace. In an instant, her consciousness entered the golden cocoon where nascent soul was. Yuanying lay asleep in the cradle of clouds as always, and Yan Xiangluo's body and consciousness began to absorb spiritual energy at the same time. The amazing thing is that the spiritual body absorbs the spiritual energy in the palace, and the body absorbs the spiritual energy in the elixir valley. Yan Xiangluo, who had already triggered the spiritual vortex twice, triggered the spiritual vortex again. This time the spiritual vortex was more powerful, and it also alarmed everyone in the entire elixir valley. Everyone felt that all the spiritual energy around them was rushing up to the sky. No matter where they were in the spiritual medicine valley, they all felt that the spiritual energy around them was rushing towards the clouds in the sky. Although they did not see the formation of a spiritual energy vortex, based on the speed and situation of the spiritual energy surge, they could tell that there was a huge spiritual energy above the clouds, and a vortex was formed. Many powerful people use their spiritual consciousness to look above the clouds, but without exception, their spiritual power cannot reach above the clouds. No information could be found despite all possible means, and the place where Yan Xiangluo and Xuanhuan were was trapped, and no one in the spiritual medicine valley could see them. For a time, everyone in the spiritual medicine valley seemed to have no direction and didn't know what to do. They have come in for experience before, and some of them have also come to the spiritual medicine valley to collect many spiritual medicines and have gained a lot of harvests. This is the first time they have seen the strange sight of spiritual vortexes appearing again and again in the spiritual medicine valley. Now they all have speculations in their minds that the formation of these three spiritual energy vortices may not be as simple as they thought. In the valley where the mythical beast Xuanhuan was found, Red Snake's breakthrough to the dragon transformation realm has not yet ended, but there are already many fewer people in the valley. The biggest fluctuation was in the spiritual medicine valley forbidden area. The spirit beasts that entered before were very quiet, but after the spiritual energy surged up to the clouds, the people guarding outside clearly heard the roars of various spirit beasts in the forbidden area. From the sound, you can tell how restless they are. People outside don't know what is going on in the forbidden area, but those who can reach the level of cultivation above the holy level have good talents, and their spiritual power is not weak, so they all have a sense of crisis in their hearts. No one could care about receiving the feedback from the aura of the forbidden area. They all got up from the ground and ran back. Because after the spiritual energy surged up to the clouds, the familiar sense of oppression came again. No one could fly in the air, so they could only run away from the forbidden area. Not long after they left, the aperture arch door at the mountain peak lit up again, and countless spirit beasts rushed out from it. When they followed, they lived in peace and harmony, creating a huge contrast. Each spirit beast seemed to be angry. Like crazy, they collide and attack each other, one after another. Suddenly, the outside of the forbidden area, which was like a holy land a while ago, became a battlefield where spiritual beasts were fighting. There was too much movement, and the people in the spiritual medicine valley soon discovered that something was wrong with the spiritual beasts. There was the power of the spiritual vortex, and there were countless spiritual beasts fighting under the pressure, which was likely to be affected. At this time, no one was thinking about what benefits they would get from the spiritual medicine valley, and ran as fast as they could outside the spiritual medicine valley. There is no way, no one can fly in the air now. The competition is to see who can run faster, to see who can avoid this bad luck. As for the people who were left in the valley where the red snake was, they no longer cared about the red snake and ran away for their lives. In an instant, there was no one in the valley. The red snake that was breaking through the dragon transformation realm was extremely frustrated. Why was it so difficult for it to break through the dragon transformation realm? The previous spiritual energy vortex squeezed it onto the mountain, and it accepted it. The current spiritual energy vortex was actually pressing down from the sky. If it comes down, it will be pressed to the ground at this time. If the pressure is stronger, it will be pressed to the ground. But, there is no way, it failed to break through successfully, it cannot make any movement, and can only allow the pressure to continue to push it down. At this time, Yanxiangluo was frantically absorbing the spiritual power in the palace, and Yanxiangluo's spiritual body in the cocoon, which had been silent, finally felt a difference. Yuanying, who had been sleeping, actually began to absorb spiritual energy. Yanxiangluo has come in 3 times, and this is the first time she sees nascent soul reacting. Does this mean she has a breakthrough in the 3rd level of the Pangu flower blooming technique? Yuanying began to absorb spiritual energy, which instantly gave Yanxiangluo hope and increased confidence. She understood in her heart that the amount of spiritual energy she had absorbed before was not enough, so Yuanying did not move at all. The main reason should be related to her spiritual body absorbing the spiritual energy in the palace. The spiritual energy in the palace is too pure and rich. It is the richest spiritual energy she has ever seen since practicing. The richness is beyond her knowledge. That's why nascent soul began to absorb spiritual energy. Jizhong, who was beside Yanxiangluo, could no longer stay by her side after the spiritual energy vortex was formed. The pressure of the spiritual energy vortex is too strong, even if his current cultivation level is not low, he can't resist it. However, the place where they were trapped was filled with the oppressive power of the spiritual vortex, and they could not leave him and had nowhere to hide. Fortunately, the restrictions on his entry and exit in Yanxiangluo's Pangu space were lifted, and Jizhong immediately entered the Pangu space. The pressure disappeared instantly, and Jizhong let out a long breath. Fortunately, he could enter the Pangu space, otherwise he didn't know whether he could survive the pressure of the spiritual energy vortex. It seems that it is indeed Luoluo's opportunity to enter the first training place. Needless to say, the difference between the spiritual medicine valley and Luoluo was not mentioned. Jizhong thought in his mind that perhaps all the training places in the first training place would not be very helpful to Luoluo's training. At most, they could improve his combat effectiveness. Luoluo's opportunity to enter this time should be the treasure land formed by the several training places in the first training place. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 817. Jizhong began to think about the possibility of finding other treasures. Although the central place in the land of experience is a place that can only be reached by chance, several other treasure places are fixed and easier to find. When you go out and meet people from other continents later, you can ask about the locations of several other treasures. Since you can't go directly to the center of the training ground, then go to a few treasure places first. Maybe Luoluo can accumulate enough spiritual energy to break through to the level. Jizhong glanced at Xuanhuan, who had entered Pangu space and woke up and asked, "Do you know where the other treasures are?" Xuanhuan nodded, "I know, but it's useless, and I can't tell you. If you want to go to those precious places, you can only find them by your own ability." Jizhong twitched the corner of his mouth. "Why do I feel that you magical beasts are of no use? The clouds are like this, and the white tiger and Xuanhuan are like this. Everyone has the name of a mythical beast, but they don't do anything about the mythical beast." Xuanhuan was speechless, but thinking that it was restricted by the rules of heaven, it seemed that it was of little use now, so he wisely shut up and said nothing. Jizhong didn't dislike Xuanhuan and the others, he just said it casually. Since Xuanhuan couldn't directly tell them the locations of several other treasures, they could only wait to find out on their own when they went out. He can't do anything now. He can only focus on the outside. Once the aura vortex disappears, he will go out immediately. The spiritual energy vortex caused by Luoluo this time was even worse than the previous 2 times. I don't know what the situation is in the spiritual medicine valley now. He cannot stay under the pressure of the spiritual energy vortex. It is estimated that the monks in the spiritual medicine valley should be fleeing now. Zhizhong is not worried about the monks above the level now, but is worried about the power in the forbidden area in the spiritual medicine valley that makes Luoluo feel uncomfortable and wants to enter her body. Because the pressure of the spiritual vortex became stronger and stronger, all the monks and even the spiritual beasts in the Elixir Valley ran away desperately. Now there is no need to worry about finding the way out of the spiritual medicine valley. You can run wherever the pressure of the spiritual vortex is weak. If someone could stand above the spiritual medicine valley and see the entire spiritual medicine valley, he would be able to see all the monks and spirit beasts leaving from all directions of the spiritual medicine valley accurately. At this time, the spiritual energy in the palace, which had been absorbed by Yan Xiangloo for an hour, did not decrease. Yan Xiangloo's consciousness body saw that his nascent soul moved. Although he did not open his eyes, he yawned. He still seemed very sleepy. Yan Xiangloo's eyes lit up. It seemed that she didn't have to wait for her to break through to the level. As long as the spiritual energy she absorbed met the requirements, the nascent soul would wake up. Thinking of this, Yan Xiangloo absorbed spiritual energy faster, and because she increased her speed, the range of the spiritual energy vortex in the Elixir Valley expanded. The monks and spirit beasts who finally escaped from the spiritual medicine valley felt the pressure of the spiritual energy vortex again before they had time to take a breath. Could it be that the spiritual energy vortex was about to rush out of the spiritual medicine valley? At this time, the monks who were able to fly in the air thought nothing of anything and hurriedly left in the air, for fear that they would not have the chance to leave later. And those spirit beasts also used their own abilities when they were not controlled by the pressure of the spiritual vortex. They flew away as fast as they could, and ran as fast as they could if they couldn't. But their worries are unnecessary. Yan Xiangloo mainly absorbs the spiritual energy in the palace, and the palace is above the peaks of the spiritual medicine valley. Therefore, the spiritual energy vortex will not go beyond the palace, nor beyond the spiritual medicine valley. At this time, the aggrieved red snake has been pressed 10 meters underground. It is fortunate that it has not successfully broken through the dragon transformation realm at this time, so it is still protected by the golden light of the laws of heaven, otherwise it would have been suppressed by the pressure of this spiritual vortex. Crushed. At this time, it doesn't know whether it should expect to break through to the dragon transformation realm immediately, or delay the breakthrough to the dragon transformation realm. After all, even if it successfully breaks through to the dragon transformation realm, it is no match for the oppressive force of this spiritual energy vortex, and the golden protective layer of the heavenly Dao rules will disappear after it successfully breaks through. Therefore, if the spiritual energy vortex does not disappear when the breakthrough is successful, it will be the time of its death. The red snake knows this very well, so it has clearly encountered the opportunity for a breakthrough. It has suppressed it without breaking through. It prays in its heart that the spiritual energy vortex will disappear quickly. It doesn't know how long it can suppress it. The previous aura vortex didn't last long, and this aura vortex shouldn't last too long either. Zhizhong kept observing the situation outside in Pangu space. He clearly felt that the pressure of the spiritual energy vortex was getting stronger again. He was very curious about what kind of spiritual weapons and treasures Luoluo had encountered. There were so many such strong spiritual energy. Only if the spiritual energy of the spiritual treasures is abundant, pure, and strong can the spiritual vortex of Luoluo's cultivation be increased. Although he didn't know where these spiritual energies came from, he knew that these spiritual energies were not from the spiritual medicine valley. The aura in the Elixir Valley, even if Luoluo's cultivation can cause a whirlpool of aura, cannot reach this level. At this time, the movement in the spiritual medicine valley was felt everywhere in the entire first training ground. People who did not know why came from all directions. Only those who escaped from the spiritual medicine valley knew what was going on. Therefore, no one dared to approach the spiritual medicine valley anymore, but something like this had never happened in the spiritual medicine valley, making them all doubt whether there were any super powerful treasures or divine beasts in the spiritual medicine valley. It was unexplainable once and unexplainable twice. Now it is the third time, each time stronger than the last. Apart from divine beasts, they could not imagine that there would be any other powerful power. After all, super powerful people cannot enter the first training place. It is only for people who are above the level of mainland saints and below the level of gods. And people who have reached the level of gods cannot be called powerful. The most important thing is that the status of the spiritual medicine valley in the first training place is different. The spiritual medicine valley existed when the training place was formed. It can be said that it lives and dies together with the first training place. If something goes wrong in the valley of the elixir, what about other places like the valley of the elixir? If problems occur in these places one after another, will the first training place still exist? The first training place is the highest level training place in all advanced continents. In the minds of the monks, the first training place is their only hope for improving their cultivation. If the first training place disappears, without this training place, it will be difficult to improve the cultivation level above the level, and then their hope of ascending to the ninth heaven will be slim. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 818. Just look at the cultivation strength of the people in the 9UN continent. Although no one can go to the 9 heavens because the passage is blocked, there are very few people who are truly strong enough to go to the 9 heavens. The main reason is not the first training ground opens to them once every 3 years, and only one person can enter it at a time. Such regulations limit the birth of strong men in the 9UN continent. In the same way, if the first place of experience disappears, the current situation of the 9UN continent will be the outcome of other advanced continents. Although the passages to Zhekongtian from other continents are not blocked and are stronger than those from Zhuyuan continent, there will still be some people with outstanding strength and talent who can go to Zhekongtian, but such people will definitely become rare people. Therefore, this time is different from the previous red snake in the valley that broke through the dragon transformation realm. Not to mention that the red snake was only breaking through the dragon transformation realm. Even if it really succeeded in transforming into a dragon, it would only become a dragon, and it would still be incomparable to the dragons of its own dragon clan. In comparison, it is still far from the strength of the divine beast. Although they yearn for divine beasts in their hearts, they also understand that a divine beast that can arouse such strength is not something they can control at their level of cultivation. It is simply impossible to contract a divine beast. They are just waiting here to see with your own eyes what kind of mythical beasts there are in the first training ground. Therefore, these people are already inclined to believe that there are mythical beasts in their hearts. After all, the experiences of mythical beasts recorded in ancient books are very fantasy. Xianxia absorbed the spiritual energy happily, not paying attention to the time. 3 days passed in a flash, and the red snake in the elixir valley was still suffocated and pressed underground. Fortunately, the pressure did not continue to increase, and it was still more than 10 meters underground. Its breakthrough can still be suppressed, but suppressing it is also very laborious. I don't know how long I can hold on. There were vibrations in the forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley from time to time, but no one in the spiritual medicine valley knew about it. At this time, Yanxiangluo finally noticed that the spiritual energy was decreasing, and knew that the absorption of spiritual energy was about to end. I glanced at nascent soul who was still sleeping, and wondered if the places that existed like the spiritual medicine valley didn't have aura that could interest nascent soul. After absorbing the spiritual energy here, she wanted to look for a few other places. Although she and Jizhong had not yet discussed it, the two of them thought of it together. Once she noticed that the spiritual energy was decreasing, Yanxiangluo clearly felt that the atmosphere in the palace was changing. After about an hour, she completely absorbed all the rich spiritual energy in the palace. Yuan Ying returned to a sleeping state, and Yan Xiangluo's consciousness instantly left the golden cocoon, and the spiritual vortex formed by her practice also dissipated. Yan Xiangluo's consciousness looked at the palace. Although the feeling of luxury and nobility was still there was not so much rich spiritual energy. At this time, the palace truly became a palace, lacking spirituality. Originally, Yan Xiangluo's consciousness was about to leave, but looking at this very familiar palace, Yan Xiangluo suddenly felt reluctant to leave. Hingren eyes blinked. Since the aura in the palace belongs to her, does this palace also belong to her? Otherwise, why would she feel so familiar and cordial? If it's hers, can she take it away? Once such an idea comes up, you can't take it back. Since you think so, then do it. It's best if you can take it away. If you really can't take it away, there is no need to regret it, you will only feel a pity. It is not her character to leave without giving it a try, so Yan Xiangluo covered the entire palace with the power of her consciousness without hesitation. I secretly shouted in my heart, "Take it." The whole palace trembled and shook, and disappeared in front of her eyes in an instant. Ji Zhozhong in Pangu space was startled by the sudden appearance of a huge palace in front of him. Suddenly he understood that this should be what Luo Yongxiao discovered, and the spiritual energy she absorbed should also be related to this palace. Rising from the sky to observe the entire palace, Fengmu was stunned for a moment. He already had some memories of his previous life. After seeing the full picture of the palace, some memories of this palace appeared in his mind, although only a few fragments. A fragment of memory, but it was enough for him to know something about his past life. These fragments of memories include both beautiful and disturbing ones, and without exception they are all related to the two of them. Ji Zhozhong began to think deeply. At this time, Yan Xiangluo was very excited. The palace was really taken into Pangu space by her, which meant that the palace belonged to her. Looking at the top of the mountain peak that was neatly flattened by a sharp sword, Yan Xiangluo's consciousness returned beautifully. As soon as she returned to her body, she immediately fell to the ground. Because the pressure of the aura vortex had to suppress the red snake from entering the dragon transformation realm, it was finally able to break through the dragon transformation realm. It was afraid of another accident, so it did not waste a second and immediately began to break through the dragon transformation realm. He was thinking about leaving the spiritual medicine valley immediately after the breakthrough. If something happened, he couldn't guarantee that he would be so lucky. The golden light wrapped around it flickered, and the red snake also tried its best. Breaking through the dragon transformation realm is indeed not easy, and it is even more difficult here. The breakthrough must be successful. However, it also discovered that it had an opportunity to break through 3 days ago. Because of the oppression of the spiritual energy vortex, it had no choice but to suppress the breakthrough. The result of suppressing it for 3 days was that its power was enhanced, the kind that doubled. Enhanced, it can be said that it can easily break through the dragon realm. The red snake was extremely happy, and a feeling of a blessing in disguise came to his heart. At this time, it did not feel that the repeated problems with breaking through the dragon realm were bad luck. On the contrary, he felt that it was because of his luck. Good. This good luck started when I met the woman in the red dress. At this time, in the red snake's heart, Yan Xiangluo was simply its goddess of luck. The fiery red body of the red snake began to absorb the golden light. When all the golden light was absorbed, a pair of dragon horns grew out of the red head, and the scales on the body became harder. This was the result of the spiritual snake successfully breaking through to the dragon transformation realm. Logo. After entering the realm of dragon transformation, you have to continue practicing. Only after the dragon transformation is successful, the red snake will truly become a dragon. At that time, it will have all the signs of a dragon. At this time, Yan Xiangluo, who had fallen to the ground, was about to enter the space to take a look at the palace, when she felt the entire spiritual medicine valley tremble. She raised her eyebrows and released her spiritual consciousness. She tried again and again to test how large an area her spiritual consciousness could cover, but failed. At this time, her consciousness covered the entire spiritual medicine valley in an instant. Although it could continue to be covered, what she wanted to know at this time was the reason why the ground in the spiritual medicine valley was shaking. Hence, she used her spiritual consciousness to sense where the vibration in the spiritual medicine valley came from. Because her spiritual consciousness covered the entire spiritual medicine valley, Xianxia knew how big the spiritual medicine valley was. No wonder she and Jiju's Hongyakong flew for so long without leaving the spiritual medicine valley. The area of the spiritual medicine valley was larger than hers. Imagine. To her surprise, apart from her, there was only the red snake who had just broken through the dragon transformation realm in the entire spiritual medicine valley. Apart from that, there was not a single monk or spiritual beast. She knew that Jiju's Hong was in her dimension, but she didn't know why there were no monks or spiritual beasts in the spiritual medicine valley. Aren't those spiritual beasts all in the forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley before? How come the monks outside the forbidden area are also missing? Xianxia quickly located the forbidden area of the spiritual medicine valley and discovered that the vibrations in the spiritual medicine valley came from here. Thinking that there was a force that she had rejected here that was about to enter her body, Xianxia narrowed her eyes and sensed that something was about to come out of the forbidden area. Jiju Kong also came out of the space and stood side by side with Xianxia. Xianxia asked, "What happened? Where are the monks and the spiritual beasts?" Jiju's Hong said, "Luoluo's spiritual energy vortex this time covered the entire elixir valley. The monks and spiritual beasts could not bear the pressure of the spiritual energy vortex and escaped. Because I was beside you, the pressure was the strongest, so I could only go into the space." Averted. Only then did Xianxia realize that all of this was caused by her. What's coming out of the forbidden area? Xianxia didn't ask any more questions, because what mattered now was what was in the forbidden area and what they were going to face. Jiju's Hong felt the tremors in the spiritual medicine valley as soon as he came out, and instantly understood what Xianxia meant. The vibrations in the spiritual medicine valley came from the forbidden area. Jiju's Hong asked, "Do you want to leave?" Xianxia shook her head, "They won't let us leave." Her intuition is quite accurate. Since the power of the forbidden land is going to enter her body, and she has absorbed the richest spiritual energy above the elixir valley, no matter what is in the forbidden land, she will not let her leave. As soon as she finished speaking, as if it proved that what she said was right, the entire elixir valley shook even more violently. The all-like mountain peaks swayed, as if they could fall down at any time. Xianxia's consciousness covered the entire elixir valley, so she felt it more clearly. "I'm afraid the spiritual medicine valley will be destroyed," Xianxia said. It's not that she regrets the elixir valley, but the elixirs in the elixir valley that cost more than 10,000 years old. She is an alchemist, and she never dislikes elixirs in large quantities. What a pity about those elixirs. Jiju's Hong is such a smart person. He knew what she meant as soon as she said the words. Of course it's a pity. Many elixirs cost tens of thousands, and any one of them is worth a fortune in the 9 Yuan continent, Xianxia said. Then let's try to see if we can accept it, Jiju's Hong said. Since Luoluo's consciousness can cover the entire elixir valley, and she is so sensitive to the scent of elixirs, she should just accept them all. Xianxia's eyes lit up. She was really fascinated by the authorities. She had always collected medicinal herbs. How could she forget that she was so sensitive to the breath of elixirs, and her spiritual consciousness was so strong that she could collect these elixirs directly by relying on her breath? While the two of them were talking for a few breaths, a mountain peak had already fallen, and the power coming out of the forbidden area became increasingly clear. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 819. Xianxia did not dare to waste any more time. Her consciousness locked onto all the elixir scents she sensed, and with a thought, she shouted, "Take it!" Xuanhuan saw countless elixirs rising from the ground and then disappearing. Luoluo really did it, and the power of her consciousness was indeed so powerful that it was scary. After collecting all the elixirs, Xianxia suddenly felt very comfortable. How many elixirs could be refined from these elixirs was something she couldn't calculate even if she had a photographic memory. But she doesn't have time to calculate how many elixirs can be refined from these elixirs, because just as she is collecting all the elixirs in the Elixir Valley, the power in the forbidden area of Elixir Valley seems to have finally broken through something. The breaks out of the ground. The power that made Xianxia very uncomfortable spread out quickly and enveloped the entire Elixir Valley. Both Xianxia and Xuanhuan felt very uncomfortable. At the same time, a black breath above the forbidden area formed the shape of a person in the air. Because it was in a gaseous state, it could only be seen as a human shape, not a real person. "You are indeed not generally annoying," came the eerie voice of the humanoid figure formed by the black aura. At the same time, an oppressive force came down, not to mention Xianxia and even Xuanhuan felt that they were invincible. And the miserable red snake had just successfully broken through the dragon transformation realm and wanted to leave the spiritual medicine valley. As soon as he flew into the air, before he could leave, another very oppressive force came from the void. The red snake was instantly slapped back to the ground, in a very precise position, in the 10-meter deep pit where it was pressed down before. The red snake was really tortured and confused. It seriously doubted whether its luck was good or bad. If it was not good, it would have successfully broken through to the dragon transformation realm. If it was good, why would it encounter such unlucky things again and again? But now, whether it is good or bad, it has to face the fate of continuing to be oppressed in this pit. It is different from before. Now it is not protected by the golden light of the laws of heaven. Fortunately, the pressure now is not as strong as before. Its power can still protect itself, but it cannot move and can only use its strength to protect it. Keep yourself from getting hurt. Therefore, Red Snake, who had just been happy to break through to the dragon transformation realm, could only continue to feel aggrieved. "I'm always worried about what if my strength is exhausted and I can't leave." Xianxia and Xuanhuan mobilized their spiritual energy to resist the oppressive force at the same time, both focusing on the human shape formed by the black gas. "I'll attack first to test his strength," Xuanhuan sent a message to Xianxia. Neither of them can escape from the current situation, and it is obvious that the human form formed by the black aura has spiritual consciousness, and has known the two of them in their previous lives. Even the reincarnated opponent knows about them, and the target is also the two of them. But the main target should be Luoluo, so only by solving it can the two of them escape from danger. Xianxia said, "Okay." Even though Xuanhuan attacked her first, he didn't want to be idle. The opponent was a humanoid made of black gas, but he could speak human words, which reminded Xianxia of the first time he met his adopted brother Ge Tianjun. Same black aura, but Ge Tianjun came out of a black aura. Although it was filled with demonic aura, it was not annoying at all to Xianxia. Although the black aura in front of him formed a human form, Xianxia could sense the evil energy in it, which was different from the evil energy cultivated by normal demon cultivators. Xuanhuan continent has been separated for too long because of spiritual cultivation and demonic cultivation. Demonic cultivation has an advantage in cultivation. On the contrary, because spiritual cultivation has not been in contact with demonic energy for too long, the body will be eroded by demonic energy once it comes into contact, and cultivation will something went wrong. It's different from before when the demon monks were all together and didn't influence each other. Just like her master Deng Chang's, it was not because the body was invaded by demonic energy, which affected his cultivation. If the demonic energy was not expelled, his cultivation level would not be improved, and his life would be in danger. A silver long sword appeared in Zhizhong's hand, with a cold light. In addition, he injected the spiritual power of his strongest blow. The man and the sword seemed to be one body, running towards the humanoid shape formed by the black aura to attack. When the human figure formed by the black aura saw Zhizhong attacking, he said in a very disdainful tone, "Are you so weak now?" As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and a black aura came towards Zhizhong. Zhizhong never thought about it. He will pierce the opponent's body directly with a long sword. This sword has more elements of testing. Therefore, when the black aura rushed toward him, the long sword in his hand suddenly changed from attack to defense. The long sword danced in front of him to form a protective circle. The black aura from the attack fell on his protective circle, and the sound of the two forces colliding was deafening. Zhizhong's heart sank. The other party just waved his hand casually and the force was so strong that he couldn't resist it. Decisively, he quickly retreated with the power of the attack, and at the same time, he held Xianxia back. In just an instant, the two of them retreated dozens of meters away. After stabilizing his body, Zhizhong pulled Xianxia and dodged into the Pangu space. All this happened in an instant. The human form formed by the black aura saw the two people disappear suddenly, and thought that the two people had teleported away, but it did not detect the aura of the two people. How is it possible? With their current cultivation level, they can't escape from the range of his spiritual power using teleportation. Yes, now the entire spiritual medicine valley is within the scope of his consciousness, and he can know any movement in the spiritual medicine valley. It can be said that Xianxia and Zhizhong are on his territory. What does he want? Neither of them could resist. But these two people actually disappeared in front of his eyes under such circumstances, and he couldn't catch the slightest breath. How could it be possible? Xianxia looked outside and said, "What's wrong?" Zhizhong pointed outside, gesturing for her to look outside. Xianxia saw the human figure formed by the black aura suddenly dive sharply into the ground. "What did you do?" Xianxia asked curiously. Exploding mysterious patterns. Zhizhong spat out 4 words softly. Xianxia was speechless. She only saw that Zhizhong's attack failed. She didn't even see when he took action. He actually carved the explosive mysterious pattern. Is it useful? Xianxia saw that the human figure formed by the black aura had disappeared on the ground, and felt that he had escaped back to his old age. The blasting black pattern was engraved there. Is it still useful? Zhizhong said, "I didn't know if it was useful before, but now it seems that it is somewhat useful." Xianxia understood what he meant. Without the black aura, the human form would not have escaped underground. But what she means is that she has already escaped underground. Is the mysterious pattern he used still useful? Zhizhong smiled and said, "It's about to explode." The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 820. Xianxia looked outside with her apricot eyes, and saw the underground location where the human figure formed by black gas had penetrated. It suddenly exploded like a super explosive force. The black soil was rushed into the sky by the explosive force, forming a black column. The body was then scattered in the air. It turns out that Zhizhong carved the explosive mysterious pattern on the black aura. How did he do it? What shocked Xianxia even more was the intensity of the explosion. Although she knew that Zhizhong had learned all the Xuanhuan techniques in Zhiyinzong, and she also knew how powerful the Xuanhuan techniques in Zhiyinzong were. After all, she had also learned the Xuanhuan techniques in Zhiyinzong, but seeing it with her own eyes, the effect caused by Jizhong's mysterious pattern power was still shocking. As the dust dispersed, the black aura appeared again, but it was not in the shape of a person, but a black aura, scurrying shapelessly in mid-air. Have you been beaten back to your original shape? Yan Xiangluo's eyes followed the black aura. Jizhong frowned. It can't be hurt. Yu Xiangluo was stunned for a moment. He was completely disfigured by the explosive mysterious pattern. Isn't this considered an injury? How do you know you can't hurt it? Yan Xiangluo asked. Jizhong looked at the breath outside and said, the breath has not dispersed. Yan Xiangluo understood clearly that what Jizhong meant was that as long as the black aura was not dispersed, it was not considered injured. What is it? I don't feel like pure demonic energy, Yan Xiangluo said. Jizhong said, devil and evil. He doesn't know what the other party is now, but there is demonic and evil energy in the black aura, which he can clearly sense. Yan Xiangluo narrowed her eyes when she heard this. What exactly did they experience in their previous life? Why can such demonic and evil things still recognize them at a glance after their reincarnation? Could it be that their previous life was in the 9 heavens? Are there any abnormal things there? The most important thing is how long this thing has been around, how strong it is, and can they defeat it? What to do? Yan Xiangluo himself admitted that he was not as good as Jizhong in planning. Jizhong said, continue to fight and don't deal with it. Not only will we not be able to leave here, but we will probably die in its hands. In the face of absolute strength, any strategy is useless. They can only try their best to continue fighting with all the skills they have. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, they will win. Although there is Pangu space, they can hide in at the last moment, but in that case, they will be trapped here forever. Yan Xiangluo was not surprised by Jizhong's decision. Okay, be careful of the evil spirit. Although they are not afraid of demonic energy now, after all, there are magic beads, and any demonic energy is useless in front of them. But the magic bead is on her body, and if Jizhong is contaminated by the devil's energy, she may not have time to remove the devil's energy from his body in time. This will affect Jizhong's combat effectiveness. What's more, the other party is evil. I will be careful, Jizhong responded. The two of them made a decision and did not wait any longer. They could not give up this opportunity while your illness could kill you. Although the black energy at this time was not dispersed by Jizhong's explosive mysterious pattern power, it was obviously also hit. Arrive. Two people appeared outside at the same time. Yan Xiangluo held a long caltrip spear in his hand, and Jizhong held a long sword in his hand. The two of them faced the black aura head-on without reservation. The scurrying black aura saw the two people appearing and rushed over immediately. His angry voice showed how frustrated he was now. Your treacherous nature has not changed even after being reincarnated. After listening to its words, Yan Xiangluo and Jizhong finally gained a little understanding of their past lives, allowing their opponents to describe them as treacherous. Obviously, they had frustrated each other a lot in their previous lives. Thinking about it this way, the two of them felt much better. Faced directly with the black aura that kept changing forms, the two of them realized how strong the other was. In just one round, the two of them were knocked out at the same time. Even Jizhong was shocked and spit out a mouthful of blood. Yan Xiangluo felt that his internal organs were her 6 internal organs seemed to be displaced, and she was in so much pain that she didn't even dare to move. Jizhong also suffered internal injuries, but when he saw Yan Xiangluo falling out, he endured the pain and got up quickly, rushed to Yan Xiangluo, took out a healing elixir and fed it into her mouth, and then swallowed it himself next one. At the same time, he picked up Yan Xiangluo and teleported away, dodging another attack from the black aura. But they just managed to dodge, and the aftermath of the attack caused the two of them to fall down again. Fortunately, what they took were god-level healing elixirs refined by Yan Xiangluo. They were very effective and recovered quickly. The two of them stood up quickly after falling out. When Xianxia stood up, the flying lotus was suspended above her head, and 27 petals flew out at the same time to attack the black aura. When approaching the black aura, each petal instantly split into 3 pieces, and the 81 petals, as thin as cicada wings, were quickly submerged into the black aura. The black aura could naturally see Xianxia's hidden weapon, but it didn't take into account how powerful a saint-level monk's hidden weapon could be, not to mention that he was not an entity. Therefore, there was no resistance, and the 81 petals of the flying lotus were allowed to fly in, confidently believing that the flying lotus would pass through its breath. But just when the flying lotus petals penetrated its breath, it realized that it had underestimated them again. The flying lotus is just a hidden weapon. Although it has no entity, it does not mean that it is not afraid of anything. Every petal of the flying lotus is poisonous, and the poison is different, making it inevitable to avoid it. The amazing thing is that when the poison on the petals encounters its breath, it instantly disperses from the petals and blends into its breath. Suddenly, it panicked and resisted the various poisons that corroded its aura. "You are despicable." Xianxia sneered. "Life and death are at stake, who cares whether the tricks are despicable or not?" She just felt that since Zhizhong's mysterious patterns couldn't hurt it, then it was possible that the other party was not an entity. If it wasn't an entity, it would be difficult to damage it with direct moves, so she remembered the poison she had stored. How to say that I used to have the title of Xiao Poison King? I had no chance to use it after I came to 9UN. I have been extravagant once today, and I used all her poisonous poison at one time. The main reason is that she doesn't know what kind of poison can be effective. In fact, she doesn't know whether the poison has any effect on the gas, but now it seems that it is somewhat useful. The flying lotus circled around and returned to the lotus platform above Xianxia's head. The ecstasy bell below shook slightly. Zhizhong was not idle either. Taking advantage of Xianxia's flying lotus to slow down the black aura's attack, he attacked the black aura with the long sword in his hand. This time he did not use spiritual power, but the flames of his own fire power.